Right, in this video I'm going to show you, I know it seems simple to a lot of you time serve spreads, but for the beginners especially, I'm going to show you how to cut, measure and stick beads on. A few different ways for each one, how to overcome a few little problems as well. That is not how you cut a bead. So, what you want to do is, make sure you don't cut through this nib at the front. You are going to cut it like that, okay? And then you're going to look on the inside where it is and make sure your next cut lines up perfectly, but you're not going through the nib. You're going to go there, like so, and then you're going to take it and bend it back like this, and that's how you cut a bead perfect. Now some fellas like to get this and cut it to a point like this, like a spear, but ultimately it doesn't do anything. It doesn't need to be like that. Just cutting it straight like that that's fine. Now, what you can sometimes get with your bead, if you go too far, is you'll misshape the little nib. And if it does go a funny shape, you can just take your snips and just pinch it back in like that and get it back to where it needs to be, okay? Now, when it comes to measuring these things, there's two ways of doing it. You can just measure where you want the bead to go. Take your bead like so. If you hook it on the inside, it's the easiest way to measure it. And then you can just, don't snip where the side where the tape is, just go up to it. Like so. And it'll fit on perfect, like that. Now, that's one way of measuring them. My way of doing it is, I think it's a little bit quicker, is just find out where the bead's going to go. So it's going to fit in here, show that in there, so it's overlapping. So what I'll do is, I'll say, okay, well I know it's going to be at least there onwards, so I'll just bend that down, get that to where it needs to sit, and then I'll just literally cut it like that instead. And that'll just fit up there, lovely, like that. Now, that's measuring and cutting them. When it comes to sticking them on, keep your eye out for little things like this. Okay, you'll spot things like this from time to time. Just make sure it's all bent inwards, okay? It's better to be in a little bit like that than splayed out, because once it's on the wall and you're trying to send it in, it'll keep popping back out again. So it's better off being in, and then the wall can push it out to where it needs to be. Okay, so when you come to fix them on, this is the main thing you've got to check for. This nib works like a screed. So when you put it on there, it's got to be none of the wing are touching and none of the wing are touching. It's no good like this, because you're touching the wing, okay? You've got to make sure it's that square on, so that there's clearance for the plaster. When it comes to fixing these, this is where it gets interesting, because there's a few different ways of doing it. I'm going to tell you my preferred methods. Nailing, bedding or stapling. You can scrim them on and stick them on, and there's all sorts of other things you can do. Now when it comes to putting your fixings in, along the bead, I will typically put 3 fixings, one at each end and one in the middle. It's the plaster going through these little gaps that's going to keep it solid once it's skimmed. So I'll start off in the middle, and I'm aiming for the little holes here. See these little holes? Like so. do is, if you wanted it a more secure fix, just pop a few extra ones in between these. Like so. Now this is the main bit. Come over here, let me just show you, come round here a little bit. What you want with these now is you want them to join up perfectly in the corners. Okay? You want them to be like that and to feel perfectly flush. No bits sticking out, okay? Now another way you can fix them is by stapling them on. I would suggest putting in a few more staples than what you do nails though, just because it doesn't hold them as good. And also, make sure you're using stainless staples. Don't be tempted to try and nail on with a screw, because you see that little chamfered bit there? That's going to deform your bead and it's not going to sit on very nice. Whereas if you look at a clout nail, see how it's going to be able to sit on flat. Galvanised clout nail, you can use galvanised or cherodized or stainless, but stainless is quite soft, so you're probably better off with galvanised. Nailing and stapling is fine when you're working on plasterboard. Most jobs where you go and re-skim the walls, you'll be able to get a nail in. Staples don't always work. But sometimes you'll find that when you put the nails in, you're knocking plaster off, or the corner's absolutely rock hard and it's bending your nails. So in them cases, I'll either bed it on or stick it on. Now, some guys put mitre glue or flipping silicone and all sorts of different stuff. I only ever really bed them on with plaster, bead fix tape, or you can use scrim. And all you want to do is just pop your scrim on the wing of the bead, like so. Get it held in place on there, and then the same on the other side. You've just got to be careful that you don't come over that nib. Now that will hold it fairly solid, okay? When I say fairly solid, look. The scrim holds it quite tight. You will have to go delicate when you're skimming though. You can't really start pressing hard because it's not fixed as solid as it would be with nails. This stuff uses pretty much the same principle. Bead fix tape. You get these lovely little orange strips. I wasn't a big fan of this until I got some. And to be fair, it is extremely sticky. That stuff genuinely is very, 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 very sticky. So that's another option for you. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're fixing your beads, you want to be sighting your reveal, and sometimes the reveal will be slightly off. Now, if it's a lot, if it's more than that, then realistically you want to be putting some back coat plaster on. But sometimes it can just be a little bit out, or maybe the beads are a little bit out. Okay, a lot of guys want to put back coat plaster on it, but if you're quite good at skimming, you can build bits of skim. A way of getting around it, let's say for instance we had to bring this bead over a little bit, yeah, or out a little bit to meet up with this one. It was set too far back. What you can do is just take the edge of one side of the bead and fold it in a little bit, and once it's in position there, now I'm out, now I'm here, and you can literally just tap it back gently to wherever you want it to be until it's in line. Okay, that's another option for you. There you go, meets up perfectly in the corners. Let's bed this one on. Some guys might cringe at the fact that I've just bent the bead and cut it off and wasted that part. If it's not big enough to do anything with, I just sling it. I never piece beads unless I absolutely have to, so don't keep the offcuts to try and piece it all together. Just check it fits first, make sure it fits. What you don't ever want to do is leave your beads short or have them too tight, and you can't cut all your beads around the window in one go, because when you go to fit them in, one bead will be in the way of the other one, so you have to do them in opposites. If you're going down the bedding them on route, if you're re-skimming, make sure you seal the wall first. What you don't want to do is put wet plaster on a wall and the wall suck all the moisture out of it before you can stick your bead on. If you have a plasterboard, the cut edge is going to be high suction, so just damp that down a little bit before you put any plaster on it. You're only dabbing skim beads on, so you don't need massive dabs. You're just literally going to put on a little amount like this, space them out. You can do right down the whole sill if you wanted to. You could do right down and not miss anywhere, but you don't need a lot. You don't need to be putting massive blobs on, unless it's a mile out and you're trying to build it out. So all you're going to do is just set your bead on. And tap it in. Now, you can get your spindle level on that and check that it's level, and when you come to clean off, don't just go mad and start just smearing the stuff everywhere. Just gently take it off the wing of the bead. Some guys just smear it all over everything, which just means more cleaning, so just take your time, smear it off. And all you want to check is this nib needs to stay nice and clean for when it's getting skimmed. Now look at these corners. Every corner should meet up perfect and lovely and neat. Okay, so there you go. There's a few different ways for you to measure, a few different ways for you to cut, and a few different ways for you to fix beads. You can staple them on, you can nail them on, you can bed them on, or you can stick them on with scrim or bead fix. Now there are other ways, and you probably know of other ways yourself, but I like them ways because the stuff that I've used is stuff that I've got in my toolkit all the time.
Got too many flows, I be killing them. Oh baby, tell me say she feeling them. Ain't worth the mile, it's a million them. Say baby, I.